Welcome to another episode of real-life haunted stories. If you love chilling tales and spine-tingling horror stories, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a scare. New nightmares drop every week. Stay haunted. So, let's start our today's episode. Story 1. The Vanishing Highway. No one could explain why Route 77 vanished from maps. Once a major stretch of road connecting small towns in the Midwest, it was decommissioned after a series of strange incidents. Cars found abandoned, their owners never seen again, reports of strange figures appearing on the roadside. The government paved over sections, rerouted traffic, and tried to erase its existence. But those who knew the stories whispered that the road still existed, hidden, waiting, and those who drove it never came back. For Ryan Carter, a former journalist turned conspiracy investigator, Route 77 was an obsession. He had spent years tracking its history, collecting stories from those who had glimpsed it. And now, with his friend and photographer, Alex, he was going to find it. After weeks of research, Ryan pinpointed a stretch of road in Black Hollow County where Route 77 was rumored to still exist. Locals refused to speak about it, some outright denying it was ever there. But an old woman at a roadside diner whispered a warning as she served them coffee. "You don't find the road finds you." Ignoring the omen, they drove for hours, following coordinates that shouldn't exist. The paved highway gave way to gravel, then cracked asphalt, then nothing. Just an open field where a road should have been. Frustrated, Ryan killed the engine and stepped out. That's when Alex gasped. The road was there. It had appeared without a sound. A two-lane highway stretching into the dark woods ahead, as if it had always been there. The sun hung unnaturally in the sky, frozen. Something was wrong. They drove onto Route 77, cameras rolling. The road was oddly pristine, despite its supposed abandonment. No potholes, no cracks, just endless asphalt. As they drove deeper, the radio flickered between stations, voices whispering in static. Then, the first sign appeared. A rusted car, half buried in the ground, as if it had been sinking for years. Ryan stopped the car. This wasn't here a minute ago. The vehicle looked decades old, yet the headlights were still on, their dim glow flickering. A license plate hung loosely, its numbers shifting as if alive. Alex took a photo. The camera screen showed something else. Figures standing around the car, watching them. But to the naked eye, they were alone. They drove faster, but the road refused to end. Every mile looked the same. The sun never moved. Ryan checked his watch. 3 hours had passed, yet the time hadn't changed. Panic set in. Then they saw the motel, a lone structure on the roadside, its neon sign blinking vacancy. It looked abandoned, yet a single light glowed inside. Desperate for answers, they entered. The lobby was old-fashioned, covered in dust, yet the bell on the counter gleamed as if freshly polished. A ledger sat open, names scrawled inside. Their names. "Ryan," Alex whispered, pointing at the latest entry. "We just checked in." The door slammed behind them. A distant radio played an old song. The air smelled of mildew and something metallic. Footsteps echoed from upstairs. Ryan and Alex turned, spotting movement on the second-floor balcony, figures watching them, featureless faces stretching unnaturally. The front desk phone rang. Hesitantly, Ryan answered. "Room 13, the voice rasped. "Hurry." Despite their terror, they climbed the stairs. each step creaking under unseen weight. Room 13's door was ajar. Inside, a single chair faced the window, overlooking the road. A notebook lay open on the floor. Ryan picked it up, flipping through pages filled with frantic scrawls. The road won't let us leave. It loops. It takes us. Don't look at them. Don't listen to the whispers. The price is memory. Alex gasped. Ryan, look at the last page. It was a drawing. Two figures standing on the road, their faces blurred. It was them. The whispers grew louder. Shadows pooled beneath the door, stretching into the room. The road was calling. Something knocked. Once, twice, 3 times. Alex grabbed Ryan's arm. We have to run. Now. They bolted down the stairs, but the motel was changing. Hallways stretched unnaturally. Doors led to nowhere. Finally, they burst outside. Back on Route 77, their car was gone. The motel had vanished. The road stretched before them, infinite. A sign flickered on the roadside. It had not been there before. Exit ahead. One may leave. Ryan and Alex exchanged horrified glances. One of them had to stay. The road pulsed, alive with whispers. The figures in the distance grew closer, their shapes shifting in the dim light. Ryan's mind raced. It's a trap, he whispered. We have to trick it. Alex grabbed his camera and thrust it into Ryan's hands. Take it. Take proof. Tell people. Alex, go. The road rumbled as Alex stepped forward. The figures surrounded him, their forms merging into the asphalt. His mouth opened in a silent scream as he sank into the road. The world blurred. Ryan stumbled forward, and suddenly he was standing on an ordinary highway. Cars rushed past. The sun had moved. Time had resumed. Route 77 was gone. Ryan tried to tell his story, but no one believed him. The footage on Alex's camera was corrupted, just static and whispers. The photos showed only an empty road. Days later, a letter arrived at his door. No return address. Inside was a single Polaroid, a picture of the motel, and Alex standing in the window. The road wasn't finished with him yet. Story 2. The Endless Road. The first time Jason heard about Devil's Hollow Road, he thought it was just another local legend, a stretch of highway deep in the Appalachian Mountains, long abandoned after a series of unexplained disappearances. The road had no official record, yet locals swore it existed. People who went looking for it either never returned or came back changed, whispering of things lurking just beyond the tree line. Jason, a documentary filmmaker, had made a career out of exposing myths. This was supposed to be another thrilling adventure, but as he stood at the edge of a cracked and overgrown asphalt road beneath the cold moonlight, he realized he might have made a mistake. It started with an email, an anonymous tip about Devil's Hollow Road, coordinates, historical records, and testimonies from those who claimed to have seen it. It seemed too detailed to be a hoax. Jason, intrigued by the challenge, convinced his best friend and cameraman Nate and researcher Olivia to accompany him. They packed their gear, rented a truck, and set off into the mountains. The town closest to the road, Ravens Creek, was eerily quiet. Locals gave them wary looks, and when Jason asked about Devil's Hollow Road, most turned away. An old gas station attendant was the only one who spoke. "That road ain't meant for the living," he muttered. "You find it, you don't leave the same, if you leave at all." Despite the warnings, they followed the coordinates deep into the woods. The paved roads turned to dirt, then to nothing but a narrow path surrounded by gnarled trees. The air grew thick, buzzing with an unnatural silence. Finally, they saw it. Devil's Hollow Road. Cracked pavement, faded lines, and an eerie mist that clung to the surface like a living thing. The moment their truck's tires touched the road, the GPS lost signal. The compass spun wildly. Nate joked about the Blair Witch vibes, but Olivia remained tense. They set up their cameras and walked ahead, but something felt off. The deeper they went, the more distorted the world became. Trees seemed to shift. The road stretched longer than it should have. Their footsteps echoed in a way that suggested they were not alone. As night fell, they made camp beside the road. The wind howled through the trees, carrying faint whispers. Olivia woke Jason in the middle of the night, trembling. "There's something standing just beyond the trees," she whispered. Jason looked, but saw only darkness. Then Nate screamed. They found him standing in the road, pale, pointing at something they couldn't see. His camera dangled from his hand, its night vision capturing a shadowy figure standing in the middle of the road, its face obscured, its body unnaturally still. Then it moved. Panic set in. They ran back to the truck, but no matter how far they drove, they remained on the same stretch of road. The trees became unfamiliar, grotesque shapes twisting in unnatural ways. The road signs displayed gibberish. The headlights barely pierced the growing fog. Olivia sobbed, gripping her journal where she had been sketching something. An eerie, elongated face with hollow eyes. "I've seen it before," she whispered. "I dreamt this place." They stopped when they saw something ahead, a wrecked car covered in vines. Jason recognized it from a missing persons report. A man who disappeared in 1985. His skeleton was still in the driver's seat, hands gripping the wheel, mouth frozen in a silent scream. The whispers grew louder, turning to voices, a chorus of those who had vanished. They saw glimpses of figures standing along the road, faces melted away, eyes empty voids. "You must pay the toll," a voice rasped. Jason realized the horrifying truth. No one ever left Devil's Hollow Road unless they gave something in return, a sacrifice, a soul. Nate was the first to disappear. One moment he was there, the next he was gone. Olivia screamed his name, but the road swallowed his voice. Jason grabbed her, dragging her back to the truck. They had to leave. But at what cost? A figure stepped onto the road in front of them. The same shadow from before. As it raised a hand, Jason saw his own face staring back, twisted, dead. He slammed on the gas. Jason and Olivia didn't remember how long they had been driving. Time no longer made sense. The road twisted and turned, leading them in circles. They passed the same skeletal remains again and again, the corpse's mouth shifting each time, forming silent words. Olivia began to murmur to herself, tracing symbols on the truck's dashboard, symbols Jason didn't recognize. At some point, the truck ran out of gas. They sat in the eerie silence, listening. The whispers turned to laughter. The mist thickened, pressing against the windows like eager hands. "Jason," Olivia said, "they're in the truck." Jason turned, and for a brief moment, he saw the impossible. 100 faces shifting like liquid in the rearview mirror, a kaleidoscope of suffering, the lost souls of Devil's Hollow Road. A cold hand touched his shoulder. Olivia screamed. Jason leapt from the truck, dragging Olivia with him. They ran, but the road stretched endlessly before them. Shadows slithered between the trees. A voice in Jason's mind whispered, "One of you must stay." The realization hit him. The road didn't take them both. It took one. That was the toll. Jason turned to Olivia, but she was already fading, her body dissolving into the mist. "I'm sorry," she whispered before she was gone. Jason woke up alone in his apartment, gasping for air. His footage was gone. No Olivia, no Nate, just silence. He checked the news. No reports of Devil's Hollow Road, no records of Ravens Creek. His friends were missing, yet no one remembered them, as if they had never existed. But in the back of his mind, Jason heard it, the whispering. The road wasn't done with him yet, and somewhere, out there, the road waited for its next traveler. Story 3. The Wraith Road. Some roads are better left forgotten. No one could remember when the local authorities officially marked Old Highway 42 as unsafe, or why it was abandoned. Once a winding stretch that connected sleepy towns in the Appalachian foothills, it was now known as the Wraith Road by the locals. The stories about it were countless. Some said it was haunted by restless souls. Others claimed that a series of car accidents made it too dangerous. But the truth was far darker than anyone imagined. In 1992, a group of hikers disappeared into the woods near the road. Their bodies were never found, though strange symbols and unnatural carvings were discovered on nearby trees. That was when the road was officially shut down, but the legends didn't die. And yet, for some reason, people still wandered down it, some seeking the truth, others just drawn by the mystery that lingered in the air like a fog. That's how it happened to Ian Harper. Ian was an investigative journalist who had spent years digging into unsolved disappearances. He had heard whispers about Highway 42 from old newspaper clippings, cryptic messages from locals, and even a retired sheriff who refused to speak about it, just muttering, "Don't go there." The disappearances intrigued him, but something else kept pulling him toward the road. He reached out to an old friend, Evelyn, a photographer who specialized in abandoned places, hoping to get help documenting the eerie beauty of the road. With her skills, they could capture the unsettling atmosphere of the forgotten highway and maybe uncover something nobody else had. The journey started uneventfully. The roads were quiet as they approached the outskirts of the town where the highway began. But as soon as they reached the overgrown path leading to Old Highway 42, a feeling of foreboding settled over them. The asphalt of Old Highway 42 was cracked and warped with age, the trees along the side of the road looming like silent sentinels. A soft wind rustled the leaves, but everything felt too still, too unnatural. Evelyn noticed how the air seemed thicker, how the colors seemed faded, like a picture left out in the sun. They drove slowly, taking in the strange, deserted landscape. The further they went, the more isolated they felt. No cars, no houses, nothing but woods stretching on either side. Yet, there was a sensation, almost like someone or something was watching them. "Let's stop at the old bridge," Evelyn suggested, glancing at a faded map. "It's right up ahead." They turned off the main road toward an old stone bridge that crossed a dried-up creek. Ian felt the hairs on the back of his neck prickle as they parked near it. The bridge itself seemed to whisper with the wind, creaking and groaning under invisible weight. Evelyn got out first, camera in hand, snapping pictures of the overgrown ivy curling around the ancient stones. Ian followed, though something inside him told him not to. He didn't want to admit it, but he felt a deep unease. There was a faint odor in the air now, something rotten mixed with damp earth. The wind shifted, and Ian swore he heard distant voices, low, murmuring voices from the woods. As they explored the area around the bridge, they found something odd, an old wooden sign, long forgotten, half buried under a mound of leaves. It read, "Turn back now, or never return." At first they laughed it off. "Just some old prank," Ian muttered, though his voice lacked conviction. The further they walked along the road, the more they noticed strange things. The trees seemed to close in around them, almost like they were funneling them down the path. Old tire tracks appeared in places they hadn't seen before, but there were no other vehicles around. Then they found something worse. A pile of old clothing, shredded and caked in dirt. The fabric was familiar, like something from a bygone era. There was no sign of who the clothes had belonged to, but as Ian knelt down to inspect them, he noticed something etched into the fabric, symbols similar to what he'd seen in the old stories. At that moment, Evelyn screamed. A figure had appeared in the woods. It was tall, too tall, its limbs too long and distorted. Its face was hidden in shadows, but its eyes, gleaming white, like mirrors, stared straight at them. It didn't move, but the air grew colder. The light seemed to dim. Ian reached for his camera, but when he turned back, the figure was gone. Only the distant sound of footsteps remained, echoing across the empty road. As night began to fall, Ian and Evelyn decided to camp out by the old bridge. They weren't sure where else to go. The road had a strange quality, one that made it difficult to turn back. It felt like the landscape itself was pulling them forward, guiding them deeper into the forest. They set up their tents quickly, trying to shake off the fear that clung to them. But the strange noises, whispers, footsteps, distant cries kept them from falling asleep. Every time Ian opened his eyes, he saw shadows flitting across the trees, and the same figure seemed to flicker in and out of view. Evelyn sat by the fire, looking through her camera's lens. She gasped. "Look at this," she whispered, showing Ian the photo she had taken of the road just before they set up camp. In the distance, a faint silhouette stood in the trees, watching them. But when Ian looked at the actual scene, there was nothing there. "That's it. We need to leave," Ian said, his voice strained. But as they packed their things, a loud bang echoed through the trees. The sound was deafening, followed by a voice, low, guttural, like a growl. It spoke their names. They ran. The road twisted and bent in impossible ways, leading them farther into the heart of the forest. The air was thick, the sky now pitch black despite the late hour. Then, ahead, the shadows grew more distinct, forming shapes. Figures tall and emaciated, their faces hidden in darkness, but their eyes glowing like embers. Ian turned to see Evelyn. She was frozen, staring at the figures. The wraiths began to move, and their voices rose, whispers calling out to them, asking questions they couldn't answer. "Why are you here?" one of them hissed, its voice reverberating in the air. "Who are you running from?" another one asked, its lips never moving. The wraiths were getting closer. Their feet never touched the ground, and their long fingers stretched toward them, hungry for their souls. Desperate, Ian grabbed Evelyn's arm and pulled her into a side path, hoping to outrun the wraiths. But the more they ran, the more the road seemed to stretch, winding back on itself. It was as if they were trapped in an endless loop, caught in the road's twisted grip. Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath their feet, and they fell into an ancient tunnel, dark and damp, the walls slick with moss. The air was suffocating, the tunnel narrow, and at the end, they saw something, a figure standing with its back to them, watching the road. It was a man, or what remained of one. His skin was pale, his face gaunt, his eyes hollow. "You shouldn't have come," he rasped. "No one leaves the Wraith Road, not without a price." Before they could move, the tunnel doors slammed shut. The last thing Ian remembered was the Wraith's hand reaching for him, and the sound of Evelyn's scream as the road claimed them both. Months later, the locals still whisper about the disappearance of Ian Harper and Evelyn Lawson. The old highway was still closed, but sometimes, if you listen carefully on a foggy night, you can hear their voices on the wind, calling from the road that should never have been traveled. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, to show your support, comment to share your thoughts or ask questions, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload.